quickly go over the fundamentals of what a tachyon particle is, just to start off with. But we won't spend too much time on that because, the global Walton Tachyon Chamber project is really critical as well. So I want to make sure we have enough room towards the end of this interview for that. And above all, as an earthkeeper, as a member of earthkeepers.org, I want you to provide all the details in depth about, the various aspects and ramifications of placing tachyon chambers on various critical points in Gabe's grid.
I think I should describe the chamber, at least in its general outline, because it will give you an idea of what it is. Because tachyons exist naturally in space. They arrive to us together with cosmic particles, and these are naturally emitted from galactic center. Everything is in our universe is fractal. So a galaxy is a fractal of the whole, and a solar system is a fractal of a galaxy, and a planet is a fractal of a star. So everything is stepped down in frequency. So the problem with our experience here on this planet, Gaia, Earth, or whatever you want to call it, is that there is a great deal of distortion here. And we are in what's called a quarantine status because of events that have happened during and at the end of Atlantis.
Yeah, the veil. Yeah, the grid,
the
veil, grid,
yes.
plasma, grid, etc.
So tachyons, since that time, are not allowed onto the surface of the planet, and that prevents us from living to our true potential. We live in a space-time continuum, and whereas space has 3 dimensions, our experience of time is one-dimensional. It goes from past to present to future. Yeah. Yeah. And this involves experience of entropy, and entropy is one of the quote unquote laws of thermodynamics, and simply stated, it means that everything tries to achieve the lowest energy level possible. So if you hold an object and then just let it go, it will fall through gravity, through the gravity potential. It will hit the floor. If there's a hole in the floor, it will go down through the hole. It will reach the lowest energy level possible. So being on that vector, there will be a deterioration in time, and we see that in nature. We see the process of birth, growth, decay, and death, where we come from the hyperdimensional planes, from the high causal planes, and we are fully tachyonized because we come through that particular wormhole, that stargate, if you like, in the womb, and we incarnate fully tachyonized. But unfortunately, with time, we come to a period of maturity, usually about 20 years of age, and from then on, we lose that, what we call our vitality. We see that vitality in children. We admire it, and we wish we had it. Children seem to have energy to burn. We don't. We try to conserve as much as possible. So time-space, space-time is it's a very difficult place to be, because we are prone to damage and increased entropy. Now, the chamber is a combination of sacred geometry, noble metals, and noble metals are gold, silver, copper, There are others like platinum and palladium as well. Not in the chamber itself, but those are the noble metals. Interestingly enough, they are the metals that are considered to be currency. Also crystals. Now the crystals that are in the chamber, and there are many different types, but they have been specifically altered. And Cobra's group have taken crystals into near-Earth orbit because in low gravitational states, you can actually do things that you cannot do on the surface here, no doubt due to the frequency barrier, and also just because gravity has effects which limit the technological process. So the crystals have been altered so that they have become wormholes. And that is the way the tachyons can bypass this veil, the frequency barrier, and can come through hyperdimensional wormholes and into the chamber. The main structure in the pyramid in the chamber is a pyramid, and the pyramid itself has, for I'm sure millions of years, been known to have effects that can concentrate hyperdimensional energies. That's how pyramids work, especially if they have the phi angle. And the phi angle is 51 degrees, 51 minutes, 19 seconds. And if you have that at the top, at the apex of your pyramid, and these are the pyramids that you see at the Giza Plateau, in the Bosnia pyramids as well, in Mexico, Teotihuacan, any places you have pyramids, they always at the apex have an angle that's subtended there of 51 degrees, 51 minutes. That is the phi angle. And if you have that, it is similar to what you can see in when you were in high school, where the teacher would show you a glass prism, and it was able to split white light into its 7 basic rays. If you have a pyramid, which is a tetrahedron, that actually refracts the energies from higher dimensions inside the chamber, inside the pyramid. And so that's why there are thousands of pyramids all over the world. They're on different planets in our solar system as well. So they are there for a purpose. And so that's how the chamber directs the tachyons into a healing modality, because if you can use tachyons for different things, for subspace communications, and also for hyperdimensional drives. So when you see an extraterrestrial craft, they don't get here using rocketry. That would be just not useful at all. The crew would have died long before reaching our solar system. So they use wormhole technology. And with tachyons, you can open up a portal in the space-time fabric. And once you know your coordinates, you can travel down that wormhole.
Yeah, Cobra had explained recently that tachyon particles is the highest frequency, anything that can be coupled with matter. Anything higher frequency, matter can't sort of receive it, if you will. And so I want to quickly get into some of the details and ramifications of that.
Yes.
Now, so obviously matter being physical matter, but does it include non-physical matter such as plasma, etheric, astral, all the higher frequency matters?
Yes. I would say the answer to that is a very definite yes. It is the highest vibration particle, as you're saying, comes from a very high dimensional level. If you study the theory of string theory, it posits the existence of 11 dimensions, and the particle that is posited as being the active particle in creation is the tachyon. And you can find interviews by Michio Kaku. He's the Japanese-American scientist who's very popular on all the usual channels. And you can find interviews by him where he talks about tachyon particles and string theory. And he uses words like sacred geometry and tesseract and things like that, which I found very, very interesting and charming indeed.
Yes, and well, that's very exciting stuff, because you also dropped quite a bombshell there, where you said the active particle in creation.
Yes.
So let's get into that, because it's easy to sort of gloss over it. Does this mean that it can be combined with one's own consciousness? And directed to work on a particular whatever, So when someone is lying in a Tachyon chamber, and they think of a certain thing that they would like to be healed or activated for that matter, and I know it's sort of challenging sometimes to answer this, because we can only go on the theoretical stuff, and certain things haven't been proven yet in a scientific empirical sense. But what do you have in the way of all of that?
Okay. Certainly our power to visualize and our, if you like, our prayer life is important. But tachyons, they interact with physical matter, etheric matter, astral matter, and mental matter. These are our four lower bodies.
Yes, the mental and emotional bodies. That's the one I missed before. So we work with those as well.
Yes.
Okay.
And so its interaction in a tachyon chamber is positive. In other words, the healing that occurs involves coherence and subatomic perfect communication between the particles. And in fact, that's what the new, if you like, the 21st century definition of health is. It's a state of perfect subatomic communication and coherency.
We'll spend a few minutes on what tachyon particles actually do to each of the non-physical bodies, and then finish off with the non-physical bodies, and then some quick testimonials that we've been told, as a little disclaimer, we've been told occurs, okay? Not that we're claiming anything, of course.
Yes. I have on my website a page just for testimonials alone, and there are many, many testimonials there, both for physical, emotional, and spiritual healing. And
you've had some emotional, shall we say, processing occur from many of your clients, because assumably because it's healing their emotional body, and from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong here, but when enough tachyon particles come through and they're sitting there, the tachyon particles interact with the matter of the non-physical, the emotional body, for example, and anything that's distorted, has negative energy, it brings it into alignment, but as a result of that, so into alignment, into its natural divine state, okay, as emotional body matter is concerned. But in doing so, the the stuckness, the negative energy that's holding a particular emotional trauma, for example, has to come out. You can't stay there anymore because the tachyon particles is effectively forcing it out by smoothing and aligning and harmonizing the matter, the quantum matter of the emotional body. And so it comes up and out, it's forced out because of that process.
Yes.
And, you know, this emotional trauma, it's an event in and of itself, and it comes up. And as it comes up, obviously, it passes through one's consciousness, and they start to feel either to a limited degree the emotions of the experience itself, or I suspect mostly they experience the relief of letting that go because it literally has been pushed out of the emotional body.
Yeah.
And hence resulting in some of your clients, you know, breaking down inside the chamber or shortly thereafter. So, you know, I don't mean to answer the question there for you, but anything you want to add to that or modify to that?
Yes, I think you stated it very well. For people who have emotional issues, emotional trauma, many of them have seen therapists, psychiatrists, etc. And therapy just goes on forever. It's a sort of an ongoing joke in psychoanalysis that the time when the psychoanalysis finally works is when you die. It never seems to end. Tachyons give you that opportunity, so it changes the whole frequency. I can see, for example, in animals, they have a much better time dealing with issues because they don't hold on to the past like we do. They, we are certainly more evolved than them, but their simpler understanding sometimes is good because they don't live in the past. And having had trauma in the past, you can also then start to live in the future and project into the future the trauma of the past. The great thing about tachyons is that they're beyond space and time. So when you experience an alignment into coherence, then it's like a melody played by an orchestra. You can have all the musicians playing according to their own ability and timing and tempo, and it just sounds chaotic. You've often heard a symphony orchestra tuning up before the performance. It's noise. It's awful. You want to put your fingers in your ears and say, "Oh, that's just dreadful." And then all of a sudden, the conductor taps where it's standing, and they come to attention, and then they start, and they play in harmony. But now if somebody somehow or other falls out of harmony, the conductor or even the audience can figure out who's out of harmony. And it's like get with the program. You have to play the part so it sounds harmonious. So it's that particular. It may be just a simile, but that is what is needed. It's coherence. We already have the pattern of perfection within each and every one of our cells. It's part of our DNA.
That's right.
So what we have is various agglomerations of incoherences and oftentimes projections of energies from outside and negative entities, attachments as well that can settle into vulnerable parts of our psyche. And part of the work, I know I've just psychoanalysis, but you must study yourself, your own triggers, your own personality issues. If you've experienced trauma in the past, that certainly needs to be evaluated because it can either make you or break you, and it needs to be cohered to the pattern that's been set. So that it also is an effect that the tachyons can have because it's not it's impersonal. It is a balancer. It's like a tuning fork. If you bring it into contact with another tuning fork, it'll make that fork cohere, and they'll play the same melody. So some of the people that come to see me, they're very, very unique. Some of them, they're wonderful people, and it's my privilege to be with them as they experience this. But sometimes when they have an emotional release, they laugh because some of them have said these tachyons are happy particles. They actually have a personality. So I've had one lady that actually started to sing while she was in the chamber. She felt so free and exhilarated, and it didn't matter if she sang out of tune or whatever. It just, for her, it was a joyful experience.
Go ahead.
It's interesting because when you actually study subatomic particles, the quarks, the mesons, the bosons, the leptons, the gluons, etc., they have strange names associated with them. In fact, the most important of the subatomic particles are quarks, and one of the names given to a quark is a strange quark. Another is a top quark. Another is a bottom quark. And there are other things like charm and spin. And these are, and color. Some colors have been attributed to subatomic particles, even though they're not colored. So it's fascinating that even the scientists that name these particles, they seem to attribute almost personalities to them. And I find that fascinating. It cannot be by mistake. I think they are maybe even guided to give them these qualities. They're not just positive, negative, like an electron, proton. They have almost personality characteristics. And the tachyons, from the ones that have described them, they have said that they are joyful or happy particles. And most people come out of the chamber feeling very, very calm, almost blissed out sometimes. So it is quite dramatic. Go ahead.
That makes sense, because to use the old, the classical tuning fork analogy, it's important to understand that when it comes to the fundamental matter of one's plasma body, emotional body, mental body, etheric body, astral body, it does a lot more than just tune the two, okay, like a tuning fork. The frequency that you're synchronizing with, that the matter of your non-physical and physical bodies are synchronizing with, isn't just the same as the tachyon particles, but of a much higher frequency.
Yes.
Much higher frequency. And we all know what happens when that happens. Stuff starts to come out. Anything heavier and more dense, in other words, any form of negativity, whatever the nature of the interference is, whether it's a belief, a false belief which has a density to it, a heaviness to it, that'll start to come out as the matter of your mental body starts to be tuned and its frequency increased and entrained with the tachyon particles that it's being bathed in, and so on with the plasma body. Negative plasma, anomalous plasma starts being cleared and tuned to the high frequency plasma or plasma effect of the tachyon particles, and so forth with the rest of the non-physical bodies. So that's the thing. That's the thing to realize. Anything that is not really you is forced out because of the high frequency that all your lower bodies is being trained to as a result of the Tachyon high frequency. You know,
Yes.
I think we said last show that it's basically just an entrainment process that goes on. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, and I gave a definition that I've never seen in a medical textbook, but I think it's going to be, as we progress further into this century, we will fully understand what health is. And so for me, it's a perfect combination of coherency and subatomic communication. I mean, I've been through medical school, so we are experts in the medical field in disease, but we know very, very little about health, which seems bizarre, but that's the truth. Yeah,
of course. So let me see. I want to make sure people grasp how critical this is. You know, there's all sorts of aspects to this. You know, DNA activation, pineal gland activation, they're obviously always and seemingly still are the main two big, you know, sexy kind of things in our community that everyone really goes for, if you will.
Yes.
Because of, you know, what's renowned and has the most notoriety in terms of what to go for. And so I want to spend a couple of minutes on that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's easy to say, for very fundamental and justifiable reasons, that tachyon particles, you know, having your pineal gland and your DNA bathed and entrained to the extreme high frequency of tachyon particles will naturally, you know, bring them back into alignment and functionality the way they were originally designed. Now, in terms of mechanics, what could you provide us with, Joseph, as it concerns DNA activation and pineal gland activation?
Okay. I mentioned earlier about using a glass prism, shining a white light, and it splits it into the 7 colors. And yes, I think, you know, we as the maybe the cutting edge of the resistance movement, however you want to call it, we want the very best in terms of, we want to have that vision, that communication with source, which we can have through the 7th chakra. But and I made this point in the other interview as well, is that you need all 7 chakras to be functioning together like a symphony. So it's not that the 7th chakra is more important than the 1st chakra. It has a different functionality, and unfortunately, down through the millennia, the 7th chakra has tended to be clouded over, to be fused, in fact, calcified. In medicine, in fact, if you want to see where the center, that you've got the skull centered on X-ray, the pineal gland will show up on a standard X-ray because it's calcified in so many people, which is an indication that, in fact, it's pretty much just non-functional or dysfunctional anyway. So we definitely do need help to open the 7th chakra, but it works as a harmony, that all 7 chakras work together. And so the chamber, though, has, from my experience, given people a completely expanded awareness. There have been people that have seen, for example, archangels that have felt that they have had actual etheric healers that they can see working with them, moving their hands, doing such and such. Some people have had very spiritual experiences, and so when some weep, they don't just weep because of emotional release, but because their understanding of who they are and their place in the scheme of things is just so much more than they had anticipated. I think I mentioned the last time about a lady who was not particularly Christian, and yet when she was in the chamber, she said that Jesus came to her, and when she came out, she was crying, but tears of joy. She said, "I never knew I had a connection with him," and she told him, or he told her, as her report was, that she had a lifetime with him. And so this for her was astounding news. She didn't know that before she had that experience. So it definitely does expand our consciousness. No question about that. And I can speak from my own experience as well. Not that I want to talk about my experiences, but I have had physical, emotional, and spiritual experiences as well, which I find for myself personally is very gratifying.
I can imagine. Well, there you go, folks. You know, it does help, return to you or clear and reactivate your natural psychic and higher sensory perceptions. And, that's something that we all want to be able to either do again or do much easier, okay? Without having to spend 10 minutes getting to a certain brainwave state and all that kind of thing. And so the entrainment and alignment and harmonization effects of your pineal gland, for example, and DNA being bathed in tachyon particles does assist with that. And as Joseph has just explained, he's had all sorts of stories from certainly a good percentage of your clients about having, visions, basically, or psychic, higher sensory, non-physical interactions. Yeah. And so it's quite a few of your clients, it's a significant percentage of your clients that have had these sorts of experiences. Joseph, is that the case, or just maybe 20%, or just to give people a better feel?
I have kept a record of everybody that's come to see me, and I haven't done any statistical analysis as such. Maybe someday there will be such, but I try and record people's experiences each session they have. And I would say yes, about 20% of people have a psychic experience. Most people that come to see me, though, are interested in their physical health, and that's, I think, for a reason. I look at the lifetime of Jesus. Yes, he was a great teacher and master, but the people that came to him were needed physical healing, and that's where his main work focused. And of course, there are many stories of that. So a lot of my clients have especially painful conditions that they. It's very difficult to deal with pain. Anybody who's had acute pain knows how bad it is, but what if that pain was chronic? It becomes then part of your psyche. It's not just like an ouchie. It's something that you have for months and years, and it becomes part of you, and it becomes almost a negative part of your personality. And even if you try to deal with that, it's almost impossible to shake off. But the chamber gives you that experience of being outside of time and space, and if you can experience that in the chamber, then you have the opportunity to continue that and let that healing process continue on in the weeks after being in the chamber.
Yes, exactly, because as I understand it, the tachyon particles, when I was visiting you, you explained to me that the tachyon particles, they're accreted into your system, you know, and they don't go anywhere. They sort of stay there.
That's correct.
Yes. Yeah. So it's important for people to know that. You know, it's not just 20 minutes and that's that. You know, you sit in there for 20 minutes per session, and you leave with those tachyon particles continuing to work on you.
Yes.
Which is where a lot, if not most, of the actual value comes from.
Yes.
You know, so it's important that. Go ahead.
We are still subject to entropy, and so over time, of course, some of that effect will be lost. And I asked Cobra himself, you know, when should people come back for further sessions? And he said they will know. So that's a typical Cobra answer, but it's not a cookbook type of experience. It's more like when you become sensitized as to your particular needs, then there will come a time where you will say, okay, I'm beginning to slide here. I need to get back and have more sessions. So I've had returnees as well, because they know what they have, the benefits they have had, and they need to reinforce that.
That's right. And ultimately, to get back into your power, to be reactivated, you need to be, you know, cleared, and all the matter, all the physical and non-physical matter throughout all your bodies need to be brought into realignment, and harmonized back to the way they were originally designed. And that way you can function again. Your pineal gland, your DNA, or the dormant DNA can start to function the way they're originally designed to. And tachyon particles really pulls them back into alignment pretty damn fast.
Yes.
So that because of how profoundly high frequency they vibrate at. Such a high frequency, nothing negative can exist within them. And so the basics of it is that it's a harmonization and alignment through entrainment. I think that pretty much sums it up, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. On all levels, on all of the four lower bodies, yes.
Yeah. So if you want to clear, heal, and switch on those dormant parts, get them back to their stasis and natural state. And what better way than having them bathed in the extreme high frequencies of tachyon particles by going to a tachyon chamber. Okay, so the global ley line Tachyon Chamber project. Now, and I want you to speak on this for a few minutes because you're qualified to speak on this as well, because, like I said at the beginning of the show, you're an earth keeper. You've gone out into various parts of the world in strategic key nexus points of the ley line, for example, and you've done work there with your group, earthkeepers.org. And so tell us about what happens to Gaze Grid when a tachyon chamber, like someone invests and, you know, Cobra comes out and builds a tachyon chamber in location X. Okay, what happens to Gaze Grid?
Okay. The Tachyon Chamber is not just a healing chamber. It has another function as well that I have become aware of. It grounds or embeds a connection that goes beyond the veil from in terms of creating a pillar of light that directs energy both from space into the center of the Earth, and also from the center of the Earth through the grid to space as well. Earth is a living being. You called her Gaia. So other people call her Mother Earth, and she is gifting us with life on her planet, but she needs help too. And the chambers themselves have they are like pyramids of old in that they are both receivers and transmitters of hyperdimensional energy. And also, Cobra has let us know that there's an angel of place as well that becomes established there. So it adds to the Earth grid as well. So it's not just a healing chamber for us, which it is, but also it's part of the healing of the broken grids of the Earth.
I see.
Anybody who's studied pyramids, the ones on the Giza Plateau are known to everybody. They're non-functional. They're asleep. They're damaged. But these can become active again. And so there are nexus points. There are like acupuncture meridians that traverse the Earth in geometric proportions. And where these lines intersect, they form vortices. The energy goes in a spiral. And
I see.
Yes. And so this has been known for thousands and thousands of years. Unfortunately, it's become lost, and we're now rediscovering that. For example, the one in Giza is the center of the landmass of the Earth. It's right at Giza, and it was those pyramids were established there in a way to stabilize the Earth after the catastrophe in Atlantis. So the one that I have that's in Waynesboro, it's on a particular grid that goes down from the New York area, probably from the Brookhaven area, all the way down through and forms a line into the Teotihuacan area in Mexico City. So these lines...
And I do remember... sorry to interrupt. I do remember seeing a ley line map, and I think there's 6 ley lines that converge into a nexus point, pretty much right in the center of Virginia, which is off memory where you are, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
You know,
it's very
one
unique.
is pretty much in the heart. Yeah.
It is. It's
critical in monetary investment and strategic move on your part, and certainly living up to your title as an Earthkeeper. And
I wasn't. Go ahead.
You know, I'm not. You know, just saying that to be nice. This is a big deal. So this is very real and very serious. And that's. So to clarify, the Tachyon Chamber is like the Tachyons come into the Tachyon Chamber through the portals of the crystals, within the Tachyon Chamber.
The wormholes.
The wormholes.
Yes.
Like the wormholes, through the wormholes that are within the crystals.
Yes.
Okay, once they're set up in that particular geometric configuration.
Exactly, the way it's formatted, yes. Yeah. And so it bypasses the veil, to confirm, right? Yes, it does, yes.
And that's the critical thing here. It bypasses the veil, brings in those high-frequency goddess energies, and obviously tachyon particles, and it brings them well within the veil, which is where they're desperately needed, and into the ley line, the grids below, Gaia's grids below. Correct so far, right?
Yes.
Okay.
it's become more apparent that there are civilizations that live in inner Earth. And excuse me, I just hit my microphone. And so even the civilizations that live in inner Earth benefit from this, because they need that connection also to the energetic lines. And so I'm aware of that very, very in a very real way in the area in which I live.
Yeah. And so by doing this, and it goes into that particular nexus point where a certain number of ley lines meet, it then goes into that nexus point and then spreads out through all the connecting ley lines. And then it goes on from there to heal, clear and harmonize and raise the frequency of those respective ley lines, therefore a significant chunk of the Gaia's grids, which then in turn helps raise the frequency of the non-physical and physical planes, which then in turn helps promote positive events to occur and negates negative events to occur. How accurate am I there, Joseph?
I agree with that fully. It's quite apparent that there have been great distortions that have occurred on this planet from Atlantean times. And even though Atlantis was destroyed, all of the old grids and protection systems went down as well. So it was a catastrophe, both for the light and the dark. But so
exactly. And so this is why the global ley line Tachyon Chamber project is so critical, folks. Okay. Thankfully, Joseph has his Tachyon Chamber right where that very large nexus point. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, there's 6 ley lines that converge onto the nexus or vortex where you're at. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's accurate, 6. And so the goal here is to build, that's why, again, that's what this project is about, inviting and calling out for investors to invest in the building of Tachyon Chambers on as many of these nexus points, beginning with the largest ones, as possible. Okay? And getting these pillars of tachyons from the Tachyon Chamber and into these nexus points, into Gaia, and then to spread out from there, helps us win the war for Gaia's grids. Because we know what the Cabal does, very deliberately, with underground nuclear explosions, fracking, and all these very upsetting violations of the goddess, effectively, and how the energetic effects of that affects our lives, our day-to-day, our frequency. It's about, and this is the whole planetary liberation part of the Tachyon Chamber topic for today. So go to returntoyourtruth.com if you want to be an investor and invest in, effectively, not just your own healing and the healing of Gaia's grids, but the planet, the planetary liberation. That's what you're investing in as well. It's not just the free lifetime use and a certain percentage of the use of people using, paying for sessions themselves. This is ultimately about planetary liberation. So returntoyourtruth.com, scroll all the way down on the home page, and you'll see the link at the very bottom, just above the footer, where it says limited opportunity for investor inquiries for the Global Ley Line Tachyon Chamber project. Contact us here. Just click on that link. And that's pretty much where I want to finish things off. because getting those Tachyon chambers, as many of them built as possible, in those critical nexus points, is huge. Now, Japan, last time I checked, has about 20 of them built. They really invested heavily. So I salute them. Do you have anything to add to this particular critical topic, Joseph?
Well, I'd be happy to talk to anybody who had any questions, because I've been working with this chamber now for 2 years. And so if somebody is really seriously interested in investing in this program.
So what was your phone number again, Joseph?
It's area code 540-221-2794.
Yep, fantastic. And TachyonCounseling.com is his website.
The chambers are, they're healing chambers, yes, but they also play a very vital part in planetary liberation. So invest if you want to make a profit. There's nothing wrong in that whatsoever. But this will be historic, no question about that. Planetary liberation is about to happen, and so you'll be playing your very significant part in it by helping to invest.